Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast which we smash apart the films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe into 1-minute chunks so we can analyze them in scrupulous detail. I'm Kyle Olson from the Road to Infinity podcast.
Hey, and I'm Rob Cabasco, and Kyle.
Yes, sir.
Angry spouses.
Mmm.
Now, you had an interesting reaction just now to that. Listen, no matter who and we just don't mean spouses. I mean, your significant other, right? Mm-hmm. We know that all of us have a tendency to push each other's buttons, right? And
sure.
if things happen where those buttons are pushed, and then the person it becomes angry, right? In an angry, in a playful sort of way. I have learned through almost 20 years of marriage, mm-hmm. that and 30 years of knowing my wife. Mm-hmm. I should never discuss her anger, right? Like I
was thinking about what my wife's triggers are, and I'm not going to say them on.
Oh no, I won't say that either,
because I was like, that would be a thing that would make her angry,
right? But you also
make her angry.
But when you've made her angry, mm-hmm. you don't discuss. I would never suggest. You need to work on that, right? Hey, you're a little too angry. Hey. Why are you doing that? Maybe you should breathe, right? Like, no, because I like my life. I would like to continue doing it for a while. Yeah. I mean, that's not something you say to anybody, especially your significant other.
No, and they say maybe saying something like this is a sign of a doomed relationship.
No, you should be able to say anything you want to your significant other, right? True. I mean, no, there's nothing off limits. Of course you'd have that conversation. I just bring this up because, again, we're continuing what we talked about in the last minute, this wonderful turn of events mm-hmm. for our relationship here in our antagonists of the movie, the protagonists of the movie. Did I get that right? Yes.
Yeah.
That I just think it's adorable. I just totally love this.
We're still in the realm of light comedy here in minute 74 of The Incredible Hulk, directed by Louis Leterrier from all the way back in 2008. So we've just finished The Cab Ride from Hell.
And she's just flipped out at him.
Yeah. She's really just laid into this cab driver.
When I watched this minute, I thought I heard what I thought I heard, and I wasn't mm-hmm. sure. And I listened to it 10 more times to make sure that I heard what I heard.
I went back through and I turned on the subtitles.
You had subtitles. Mm-hmm. Did I hear what I heard? I thought I heard.
I believe you heard what you heard.
What did I hear?
So the cab driver says, "What's the matter, baby? You don't like a good ride?" It's just
what?
Okay. Has this ever worked for you, sir? I mean, is this really the time do you think a pickup line should be like, "Oh, let me hop back in the cab"?
Okay, now I have to say, I was really... And look, not like...
Well delivered. I mean, it was a very sleazeball line, delivered in a very sleazeball way, so kudos.
Oh, no, perfectly delivered for what you're trying to do with that character. And let's just say, let's not pretend like there won't be further... journeys into some questionably explicit suggestions later on in other Marvel movies, because there will be Star-Lord. But anyway, let's just say I was just like, but the best part of this is, and I'm not even, I think it's a funny line that is, again, like you said, it's well delivered. Liv Tyler's reaction is priceless.
Yes. Because I think this is our first hit. We get to hear her drop an A-bomb.
Yeah.
Which I'm not 100% sure we can say on this show without getting slapped with a explicit rating.
Yes, and I would just go bleep.
Yeah. I think we can say she calls him an a-hole.
A-hole. That you can do. That
which I believe Star-Lord has also said.
Yes,
but a-hole. But I don't think we actually can say the real thing, or else we get flagged. And there are certain parts of the world with this podcast would not be able to play in. So we'll just say she calls him an a-hole, and really loudly, and just screams at him as he goes. I just like the camera move they do here. They do this really simple, stupid gag where instead of having him drive off after he says it, they just slide the camera really fast to one side as he makes the motion like he's driving. It's just like so it's simple. It's all you really need. And then they cut to the cab actually driving away. But like literally, they just like he's just sitting there and then goes, ugh, like he hit the gas, and then the camera operator just jumps to the left, so it looks like the cab is pulled away from where the camera is sitting. It's so simple, so dumb, and yet so effective.
No, it's very funny. Nice little moment for the character for Betty that we haven't seen this. This is kind of a new space for her.
Yeah.
And then we have just, I think, what is an adorable conversation between her and Bruce.
Right. She drops the A-bomb. He's back in his Marvel disguise too, which we didn't think we mentioned before, but he's like got his nondescript cap on, so he's
right.
Lavender. He says,
lavender color.
Right. Right, and so like in a very zen, mellow way, he says, I know a few techniques that could help you manage that anger very effectively. And it's like, this is not what she needs to hear right now. And so she goes, you, zip it, which I think is an homage to another movie.
Oh, wait, let me think.
All right, zip it. Can't even zip it. Zip. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, exhibit A. Look, I'm Zippy Longstocking.
That was from 1999's Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me.
Zippy Longstockings is really, that's what makes that. That's pretty awesome.
My favorite in that, as if we had let the bit go on even longer, was when a problem comes along, you must zip it.
Zip it good.
Zip it good.
I cut at the 6.9 second mark, so I did a little trickery there.
Yeah. Right.
No, it's really funny. Yeah, no, it is. I mean, it's just, and then I love how she leaves frame, and he's just standing there, like, kind of looks down a little bit, like, oh boy, I'm really not good at this.
Yeah. Says, you zip it, we're walking, and then she turns and walks away. So they get dropped off. We don't actually know where in New York, but I can tell you where they were in Toronto, because they were dropped off in Yonge Street between King and Wellington.
So this is literally like a block away from the previous scene.
Yeah. They probably just like picked up their stuff, walked around the corner, set the stuff down, and off they went. Yeah. Other things that have shot near here, Orphan Black again. Orphan Black has shot a lot of stuff around Toronto. Jumper, starring Hayden Christensen.
Yeah.
And going way back, Videodrome.
Videodrome.
Yeah, that's a deep cut.
Well, even for me,
that is a lost. Oh, that's a lost sci-fi classic from the 80s.
Oh yeah. Oh, I just looked at the
Once
cover.
You see it,
yeah, now I know what it is now. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. Wow.
Right. Yeah. So all in this same area, they were all filmed. So then they begin apparently walking to Grayburn University. So we get more stock footage.
Now, this is a really great aerial shot of New York City.
Yeah.
Again, if you're a fan, I mean, here's the two things I would just point out about it. Again, establishing Empire State Building, very clear.
Sure.
You can kind of
reminding people that we're in New York.
Right.
Because it's important they remember.
And you got to see a lot of brownstones, a lot of like the typical stuff, Chrysler buildings near in the background. The one thing that I always love seeing is if you look sort of a little bit off left to the center of the screen, you see what looks like a weird cylindrical building. That's Madison Square Garden. Which, if you've ever been if you're a sports fan or concert fan or anything you've ever attended there, that you know what that is right off the bat. The only other thing to notice about this is, and we've talked about the age of stock footage of different landscapes. New York City looks nothing like this today. Not just, and I'm not just talking about the Freedom Tower, because I don't think the Freedom Tower would be in the shot. There is a tremendous number of super skinny, super high skyscrapers all around Central Park now.
Oh, really?
That, I mean, the skyline of New York City is completely transformed, just like it's been transformed many times throughout its history. You would, if you looked at it today compared to the shot, you almost wouldn't think it was the same city, minus the Empire State Building. So anyway, but I just like that. Nice footage. Yeah. Nice. It makes you reminds you where you're at.
They keep changing the skyline, so it keeps the stock footage people in business. So we have them appear at the steps of Grayburn University, and so you were talking about before how they had just moved down the street. Well, we've come full circle, Rob, because we're back at the University of Toronto.
What?
This is a Convocation Hall. They're actually back at Culver University, except now it's Grayburn University. They just have moved a couple buildings away, and they
didn't have to make any crazy banners or anything talking about centennials or anniversaries or anything
they just
like
got
that.
this one shot. They're going up these nice great, because a university's a university, right?
Stony buildings.
Right. So
Easy.
As there we see a bunch of people walking out. We see a guy with a very ill-fitting suit. I don't know what that story is.
Yeah, that's weird.
But then a person comes running out with a T-shirt, and we find out that the Greyburns mascot are the Wildcats.
What?
So it's very interesting because that sets up another possible crossover that nobody's even talked about because
Wildcats, sing along. Yeah, you really got it going on. Wildcats in the house.
who's to say? Who's to say?
Oh, no.
That High School Musical doesn't take place in the same universe as The Incredible Hulk. No one has disproven it.
All of these characters, they all are in this together.
They all are in this together.
And, if only
Side by
Bruce
side.
could get his head in the game.
If he could just get his head in the game.
Oh, no. What do we all have children? Nobody, don't judge us. The first one is fine. The third one, it's a disaster by then. There's a third one?
Oh, yeah, exactly. The theatrical one?
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Cold
So we see a character. He's got a Wildcat shirt on. And interestingly, his shirt and his sweater are blue.
Blue. Not green at all. So I wonder if this could be. Could it be? Could this be the mysterious Mr. Blue?
If there was a hammer to hit you over the head with.
Yeah, right? Like, hey, everybody. So here we see Tim Blake Nelson. Now, we're going to talk more about, specifically about Tim Blake Nelson in our next minute because he has the floor in minute 75. So we're going to save that time to talk more about him. But in the meantime, Betty introduces herself, and what was really cool is he knows who she is.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as she walks up and says, like, she starts doing her introductions, and he's like, oh my God. Like, he, like, totally gets, like, he actually knows who she is. Like, she's, like, science famous. I thought that was really cool. That it was like, oh, it wasn't just like, hi, I'm the girl who's going to introduce you to this guy and then step aside. Like, it's like, no, she's kind of a rock star to him.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
That was neat.
Yeah.
She is there, actually, to make an introduction. And so she introduces a nondescript gentleman, and he says, it's Mr. Blue, isn't it? And it takes a second. He goes, Mr. Green? Like, it's such a great reaction. Like, I'm trying to put off my Tim Blake Nelson love until later, but like he sells both of these moments so well.
Oh yeah. Well, and it actually
so
hits the whole. Well, it kind of speaks to Bruce's character of he wants to be that indescript guy, right? Like he wants to be that. At the same time, it's also
right.
A little bit of judgy of like, wait, you're the guy who's got the off the chart gamma radiation waves? You're not what I was expecting. You're scrawnier than I am. What is the deal with that?
So yeah, so when they cut here to the next scene, like apparently a lot has happened because they have apparently filled him in on like, okay, I'm actually Dr. Bruce Banner and I turn into the Hulk and it's a gamma thing, and because like they're already sort of in the middle of conversation, and this is like a very common technique in writing is basically get into the scene as late as you possibly can. So beyond just the bona fides of like, let me tell you a story. So I had this program about unlocking the potential of the human body, and I wanted to. But they basically just cut right to like, all right, let's talk about what we want to talk about.
Though surprisingly, in this movie right now, you would think we would be talking about 17 minutes of deleted scenes. But we're not. There's no deleted scenes that we're aware of that fills any of this in. This is a technique in terms of the storytelling.
So Mr. Blue says, we know Samuel Stern's Mr. Blue, says, a person with that much power lurking in him. Nothing could have surprised me more than this unassuming man shaking my hand. But look, we're not... And that's where the minute ends.
Oh!
We don't know where that sentence was going. We're not what? Dr. Samuel Stearns?
Wow, see, I wanted to go in a whole different direction. Like, is he this unassuming man shaking my hand? Hey, Betty, are you interested in some pizza tonight? Like,
How about an even more unassuming man?
Yeah.
You've gone green. Want to go blue?
There we go. It's interesting how it sets up. I mean, he's got the traditional crazy professor office. It's just mounds of paper and books and chalkboards and all this other stuff. So we kind of immediately, now that we finally have met Mr. Blue, it does kind of give us this sort of beginning idea of who he is. I bet in the next minute we'll learn a lot more about what motivates him.
Oh, I think so. And you'll have to tune back in to find that. And as we hit another anniversary episode, minute 75. It's going to be a big one. In the meantime, if you like what we're doing here, we have a Patreon. Yeah, it's just like all the best shows out there. We're up there with them too. We always love our Patreon people. One of the benefits of the people on Patreon who have to suffer through hearing ads for Patreon, even though there are Patreons already, is they get to hear this stuff a week early. So if you cannot wait, if you want to be on the cutting edge, if you want to be first to find out what we think about the Minutes of the Hulk, join our Patreon at nextreel.com/Patreon. Join us next time for Minute 75. Hope you had a smashing good time. Until next time, true believers.
Bye.